to be here. And this is going to be a really interesting conversation. I feel that, well, I'm not going to speak for Alexis. We'll talk about how we feel about this topic here in a second. But I just want to say hi, Alexis. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing okay. I mean, we always have our pre conversation to the actual chat, and I had mentioned that I just am feeling like weighted today, like I feel a little heavy in the air today. I'm not sure what it is, but I can feel like my exhaustion just like building up. But how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think I kind of feel the, I think it's kind of the energy of Pisces season that I've been getting some hints about for like this first 10 days. It's like giving me the Eight of Cups energy of just
Mhm.
like kind of, yeah, it's just like a weird, like melancholy, but then at the same time, it's like you're not really sad. Like it's like you're kind of in between. You're
Yep.
not happy, you're not sad, you're just kind of existing, but there's still like even like a lower energy to it. And
Hmm.
honestly, it could be, what we're tapping into as far as like the collective. And, it's right on time as far as like where the sun is in Pisces, like the first third of the sign's territory. It is associated with the tarot card of the Eight of Cups. And I didn't even think about that until I was kind of looking deeper into it. I'm like, why am I keep seeing this card like in collective readings and, one-on-one readings. And then when I did the cosmic climate for this week, and I'm looking at Pisces season, and I'm like, oh shoot, like this is the card that is associated with the first 10 degrees of Pisces. So I think really what's really interesting too is that the first 10 degrees essentially will lead us into the new moon. And so, yeah, like by the time we get to that new moon energy, hopefully it will shift. We'll see. I'm still feeling in the energy. And I have to also be careful about what I say out loud, because I feel whenever I do cosmic climate, it like that's what it is. Right. So it's like I'm creating this reality for like myself, and
Hmm.
I always intend to show up in truth, and so I'm not going to like not say what I'm feeling and sensing in the energy field. And at the same time it's just like, no, I don't want to say this because I don't want it to be a thing, but here we are. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe. We're going to be really chill and low key, and this is going to be an interesting topic that we were inspired to share as we have concluded Aquarius season, yes, but we're still in Aquarius lunar cycle, so we
That's
can't
true.
really like let go.
Yeah, we haven't let go of that yet, but the sun's influence is definitely has moved on. So,
Yeah,
closing that aspect of it.
yeah. And I like that you said it like that because it's like, yeah, the sun has moved on and the moon is catching up in a way, in a sense. And so
Hmm.
there is kind of like that moving on energy that is in the vibe of Eight of Cups.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm totally feeling it. And then the moon, we're in the waning phase. And so
Yeah.
she's been passing through. Right now she's in Scorpio, like the end of Scorpio. She's still in Scorpio.
Yeah, which also makes
So,
sense for the heaviness. I mean, the sun's in
right,
Pisces, the moon's in Scorpio, of course, where
right.
it's very heavy and like there's a lot there, a lot of energy
Yeah.
there.
So that makes so much sense. So moving forward, as far as astrology and dreams, we're in Pisces season. And so, I mean, this whole season is dreams and astrology, essentially. We also have Mercury in Pisces. And soon, of course, with the new moon, we'll have the moon in Pisces. So I would say, as far as this week to the week is coming forward, we're going to just kind of like focus. I feel like the highlight for astrology and dreams would be the new moon. The Pisces new
Hmm.
moon is where I'm going with this. So bear with us, everyone.
Yes.
Words apparently aren't my friend today. But we're gonna
Well,
get through.
your Mercury is in Pisces. Is it your Mercury in Pisces?
No, Mercury's in Capricorn for me.
Right.
No, Venus and Mars are in Pisces, which is like,
Right.
it's
Right.
just the vibe today,
Yeah.
you know. And when you
Oh,
said that like
completely. Yeah.
the Scorpio and the Pisces, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Absolutely. And I was also attributing the heaviness on my end too, because I'm literally at the precipice of my Saturn return, like my final
Mm.
for this cycle Saturn return on the 22nd, which is on Saturn Day, and it's also February 22nd, 222, so like a portal day too. And I just feel like
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell is this weekend gonna be? Because that's a lot. That that's a
it
lot.
is.
And the heaviness is, yeah, that makes a lot of sense of just feeling like, and I can tell too in my dream space, it seems like where the lessons were kind of spaced out in my dreams. So I would have like a dream about this lesson I need to learn, and then like months later I'd have another dream about that lesson that I need to learn. And notice that within the last couple of weeks, the same messages have been repeating. So
Yeah.
like it's like you need to do this. You need to figure this out now.
Mhm.
So all of that's very heavy, especially with just like the what will come with ending these lessons. So yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. And I'll say that when like you're going to have the alignment on Saturday. So I think what I've experienced, what I've seen other people experience is that it's the most intense as it builds, like
Mm-hmm.
as you get closer and closer. So this is probably as intense as it's going to get. And then you have that exact alignment, and it's kind of like you kind of see it. It's like that full moon energy where it's like that illumination, the aha moment, like things come to fruition as far as that lesson, and you're in that peak energy. And then after that you are integrating, like you're taking it in, you're doing the whole waning aspect, right, and integrating the lesson that's come forth and making the necessary changes.
Yep.
So yeah, this is probably the most intense part, so hang in
Thank
there.
you.
Yeah, so Christopher has entered the chat. Hello, loves.
Hey,
Hi,
Christopher.
Christopher. Welcome. Anyone else who joins, feel free to say hello. We would love to share with you, hear your thoughts. Also, this episode, we're going to be talking about technology and dreams. I'm actually having mixed feelings about the conversation. Like I'm excited, and
Mm-hmm.
also I get really kind of not emotional, but I just get like these weird emotions when it comes to technology, because there's a part of me, maybe the teeny tiny bit of Aquarius, that really wants to keep up with the time, so to speak, and to like be ahead and just like really feel into the innovations of things. And then I have my Capricorn, which can be very traditional, and it's like, why try to fix something that's not broken,
Yes.
aka dreams, right? It's a big, big one.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to have the conversation, and I'm very like emotional in an interesting way about this topic. And so we would love to hear how you feel about the technological advances around your dreams. Feel free to leave it in the chat. If you're watching the replay, leave it in the comment section, either on YouTube or Spotify. But we would love to know.
Yeah, and I'm right
So,
there with you, Urania.
yeah,
I am having conflicting feelings on more so modern technology and the advancements and theory ideas that have been put out there. I'm right there with you in that confliction.
yeah. And let it be known, as we're sharing these different technological advancements. This, like, whatever I share as far as my opinion, my feelings on it, I don't expect anyone to take those on, right? Like, I respect your opinions. This is just what I'm feeling about it. I'm not an expert with these technologies. We're just sharing what has come in our field. It was interesting when we decided to talk about this. I think it was like the day after, maybe even the same day, Alexis, you saw that post about scientists have been able to communicate with lucid dreamers, right, while
Right.
they're in, like, a lucid dream. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. And yeah, so I guess that's where we're going to start, is this scientific study. And actually, this was released in 2021. And I don't know if there were multiple studies. I feel like it was like maybe one group doing this. And what they did is that they had, people in their sleep state, and I believe they were in, like, they were able to tell that they were in the lucid dream state. And basically they would ask them questions. And before they even went to sleep, they had already agreed on the way in which they would communicate. So in some cases, it would be like smiling or frowning in reference to like that being yes or no. Also, there would be like moving their eyes in like multiple ways to answer like a math problem, like say like 5 plus 3. And then you would
Mm.
maybe blink your eyes like 8 times, right? And so this is the way they would communicate the answer. So it wasn't actually like saying the word or like saying yes or no or saying like the actual number. And so with this study, they asked 158 questions, and 18.6% of the people, right? The, what would I call them? The,
Uh,
I don't know, the
study
study group.
study group.
Yeah, only 18.6% responded correctly. 3.2% answered incorrectly. 17.7 were not clear answers. And then 60.8% were no, there was no response.
Mm-hmm.
And so naturally, I'm looking at the 60% because I'm like, well, that's the biggest one. Like, these people didn't respond.
Mm-hmm.
But what they said was that what they took from this is that it's possible, right?
Yes.
So it is possible to communicate. So it wasn't a complete like zero, or it wasn't even the lowest, because I think the lowest was they answered it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is like I would love to read more into it, and maybe I'll go that route. I did share the actual like scientific paper. The link is on the in the description of this video, and if you're listening to the replay on Spotify, it's going to be in the episode description. And it was posted or shared on Current Biology. So the studies there and the whole breakdown of it. But my thing is, it's like, well, I mean, if you're asking yes or no questions, there's a 50% chance that you're going to get it right. So the math problems, that's a bit more impressive
Complex.
for
Yeah.
me. Yeah, and complex. And so, yeah, and their thing is that, one, at least it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what if they could communicate, or if we can communicate with people when they're dreaming, this can be beneficial, is what they say, as far as helping dreamers solve problems. So say, I mean, this is like Edgar Casey in reverse, where Edgar Casey was the one giving, the guidance, the healing, the remedies, the solutions while he was asleep for people that weren't. And so I'm thinking they're going in the other direction of, say, if someone has like some sort of like challenge, some sort of health thing going on, possibly whatever it is, they can communicate with the person while they're dreaming and get those answers, since we're connected to that, very wise unconscious aspect of ourselves. Unconscious, I'm doing in air quotes. And this also reminds me of Dolores Cannon. And so if you guys aren't familiar with her, she died, I think, in 2013. But essentially, she was a hypnotherapist, and her work took her into like a very profound um, like experience with like clinical work with the hypnotism, but taking her patients basically into the deepest level of trance. And she would completely and I'm doing air quotes again, get rid of the conscious mind, so to speak, and get right to the subconscious. And basically she was able to get to that um part of the mind, or the essence of the person, where she could get direct solutions and guidance on how to help these people heal. And she worked with a lot of people that were having like health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was able to, yeah, bypass the conscious mind completely, and the person, but these people were actually like speaking, like in, I mean, having a whole entire conversation. And she has several books on, like, from her studies. She has them on cassette, video or taping. And so it's actually, it's, this isn't really new. It's just like, this is the way that we're going about it from a scientific approach, like having
Mhm.
that, like doing it through the scientific method, I guess you could say. So it's like, my personal opinion, I'm not really impressed. And yeah, so, but that's what we have, right? So what are your thoughts on that, Alexis?
So it's interesting because overall, just the ability to track our REM, like when we're in REM, and kind of because that is the like where you have the most like where you're dreaming basically is during your REM sleep. So I think the tracking of the REM and like your brain and your body with it is very interesting. I do tend to think about the fact that to me it's, you break down the answered correctly, answered incorrectly, wasn't clear, and then no communication at all. So what I'm impressed by is not the correct, incorrect, or unclear. It's the 40% that communicated directly with someone through the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, for me, puts it into perspective. Like, of course, this is something, hypnotherapy has been around for how long? It's like we kind of already know that you can communicate with the dreamer, but there's something about seeing like the numbers kind of attached to it, like the way the body is functioning, the way the brain waves, all of the things that go hand in hand. That is impressive in its own way,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that, I still feel like in regards to a scientific aspect of like using technology to study the dream space, it just hasn't gone very far. And I also think doesn't need to go very far, you
Yeah.
know. There's a wonderful movie I watched a while back, um called, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I have to look it up real quick because this just popped in
Well,
because it just
yeah,
oh, it's called Dream Scenario and it's with Nicolas Cage.
yeah.
And spoiler, towards like
Spoiler.
yeah,
One last chance.
toward like in the movie, one of the things they do from this whole experience that they have is develop like the ability to, I guess, record your dreams and have like a like a whole file of dreams copied from your brain into like a file, so you can see them. But the capitalism aspect comes in, and now you have ads interrupting your dreams.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
And, that's not far fetched from what,
No, it's
especially
really
in
not.
America, what people would do with that type of technology. And it's just one of those things. It's even like, Elon Musk designing the neuro link. I will not get that.
No,
No hate on anybody who
no.
does, but there's something that I feel really doesn't need to be fused. I don't think that we need to go as far. It's that whole analogy of like flying too close to the sun. Your wings are going to melt and you're going to fall and die. I feel like we can go too far very
Yeah.
quickly, and that's where my concern is with the advancements in technology and what we can do. Like on one hand, I don't think we've gone far enough for me to be impressed, but the other hand, it's like, well, how far is too far then? What's
Mm-hmm.
a comfortable invention space in my head?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's again, it's like my opinion around it. Of course, the advancements are really cool. There's an aspect to that my Aquarius moon coming out, like, oh, I want to try it at least once, and if I don't like it, we'll go from there. But then, if it's something like a Neuralink where like it's surgically implanted into your brain or whatever, like
No, thank you.
Nah,
No, I'm
I don't
good.
even feel
I'm good.
comfortable with the fact that our cars are controlled by computers. I'm
Yeah.
like, do I want to get an older vehicle just so I have that
I need a
disconnect?
key. Like right now, I actually have a whole key. Like my car is old.
Yes.
It's like, especially, I mean, this is way off topic. And I'll just say, especially with my mother's experience recently, where her car was stolen and they were able to get the code. Like you don't even have to have like the keys close.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were able to get the code even though the keys were in the house. And now she has to put like her keys in like a box, right? So if you have like some sort of box that can kind of, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. She was like, oh, I can put it in a bread box if I like want to.
Yeah,
But just to like protect them from getting, and I'm like, whoa,
that's
okay.
crazy.
That's really
Like
crazy. But yeah,
that's
it's just like
horrifying
it's
when it comes
it's
to your brain.
yeah, I'm like, I see. Yeah, I mean, we could go down a whole nother thing with that, but
Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
we got some good comments. But
Oh, let's hear them.
so
Oh
yeah,
no.
I like that Christopher says, we must stop the rise of the machines. Richard says, movies of my dreams. Yes, please. What's up, y'all? Peace and love. Hi, Richard. Thanks for
Hey,
being here.
Richard.
Yeah, and that's
Dream
that's the thing
Scenario is
too.
great.
Hmm?
Just saying. I was just saying, Dream
Dream
Scenario
scenario.
is a great
Yeah,
movie.
I'm gonna have to
Highly
check it out.
suggest it.
Yeah. Um, so okay, I'm just gonna go through there's a few from Christopher. Urania, you and I talked about that where I was telling you how I have theory where sleep paralysis is where we actually hook up into the collective and can start new dreams and
Ooh.
jump into other people's dreams. Also, it's where we can traverse space and time. And sleep paralysis is the door we can step through to traverse all throughout the collective. um yeah, so it's going into that. But yeah, okay, so you have to be with us next week because we're going to talk about like dreams in the collective
Mm-hmm.
consciousness in our dream reflection. So we'll definitely, I hear you and I'm noting these comments. So yeah, we'll get back to that. So okay, what do you have to share, Alexis, as far as dreams and technology? You have some things.
So there is a invention that is being worked on right now. There's no like on market date. Like it's probably going to be a very long time before they even get it on market, but it is an invention called Dormio. So it's meant to interface with dreams. So just for like a basic understanding, it's trying to put a modern spin on the steel ball experiment. So if you don't know what the steel ball experiment is, people like Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali used this trick to help recall their ideas when they took naps. So what they would do is they would hold a steel ball when they went to sleep, and then as they're falling out of hypnagogic place and state, they would drop the ball, which would wake them up, and it would like give them the opportunity to have that fresh memory of the dream that they just had, so they can write it down, and this helped them with ideas and inventions and all these other things. So what this experiment slash invention is a modern way to have that type of effect. So the project is meant to explore a way to explore augmented human creativity by extending, influencing, and capturing dreams in stage one sleep. They are modernizing the steel ball technique using custom sleep onset tracker, not tractor, um, and audio feedback to reliably influence the hypnagogic dreams and to collect intent content. My God, you can tell that like I'm just totally like off today. Anyway, so basically it tracks when your sleep cycles. It puts out vibrations and other feelings through your through. So what it is, it's basically designed like a glove. You put the glove on, it has all these uh
Like receptors
technology,
or whatever.
yeah, receptors, to help track all these things, and also to interact with you in your sleep through like vibrations or like shock or different
Yeah.
sensations to help influence your dream or even extend it or keep it going longer, and to also make like track when you get out of that hypnagogic state. So instead of having the gravity affect it where like your muscles relax when you get out of that hypnagogic state, it would do something similar to your hand through the glove tracking that. Like I said, it's currently not on sale. There is no like market availability prediction even. It is a it's actually the contributors. So it was a collaborative idea. So there are a lot of people who've been working on this. Some of the people, oh my god, I'm gonna butcher some of these names, but I feel like they should be named. um, Abhinandan Jain. Sometimes I'm just like my brain. Adam Har Horowitz, Christina Chen, Ayal Perry, Ishan Grover, Kathleen Isfahani, Matthew Ha, Oscar Rosello, Patty Mays, Pedro Reynolds Curler, sorry, Robert Stickold, and Thomas Vega. So one of the cool things though is that because this invention is open source, if you have the right material and the right tools, you can actually create it at home. So even though it's not something that will be available on the market, like there's no prediction for a market release date. If you really want to and you have these things and the desire to actually invent, well, not invent, but recreate an invention, they have that on the internet. So this is all documented by MIT. And yeah, I'm very interested to see if this is something that comes through on the market. They have backers and they are experimenting and putting in the time, energy, money to get it going, but I don't know if it's something that you know will end up being for sale. It might just be for study.
Yeah. My thing is, why go through all of that and just use the ball?
So it's the documentation of like so they have it.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
it's all of it is documented. So like with the
And
steel
see, then
ball,
my
you
next question is like, where's the data being held?
stored. I
Yes.
assume probably at this point in our life an app.
And that's my thing. I just like, I don't
Yeah.
need, like, I just have trust issues. Like, I
And
don't
that's kind of
need,
where I'm at.
yeah, I
Like
don't need people to have access to that.
there's the aspect where I would love to study my own brain in that way. Even the idea, like again, it's like one of those things where like I would try it once or twice and see how I felt about it. And because I have that like influence of just like, oh, I'm curious. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm so skeptical about things like that too, that it really like, I don't know, there's a lot behind it. But you can do something that's a little less advanced as Dormio. Like you can get an Aura ring or wear a Fitbit or an Apple Watch to bed and literally just monitor your sleep and have that be a like a way of integrating your study practices and understanding yourself better. So even though it's not to the extent of this type of information that's being pulled from your brain, you're at least getting the monitoring of your sleep cycles and your heart rate and everything like that, and that would be pretty important to include in your dream work if you feel necessary.
Yeah. And so this is where my Capricorn moon comes in and I'm like a hard no. Like how we talked about with like Capricorn and dreams, like that energy of like negation, right? Like I
Yep.
don't really need to try. And my biggest thing is like it's the EMFs, like the
Mm-hmm.
electromagnetic fields. And that's one of the things, even with like our phones, like Fitbits, just any kind of like technology around me when I sleep, like I've become so sensitive. Like I have no TV, I don't have a TV in my room. Like there's a light, there's a humidifier and a fan in my room. I try to
Mm-hmm.
like keep it. I mean, now, yes, I've been having my phone because I have to wake up early
Yeah.
to take my daughter to school, but I don't bring my AirPods in. I will like use my corded headphones if I can. And I just like it's like, yes, all of that's there, but I feel like with the technology and how you can get information, but I feel like it distorts like the energy in a sense. And I mean, yes, we can also argue that some of that can be like, it might be so small where it's like negligible in
Mm-hmm.
reference to a scientific experiment. But it's just like, I don't like some things I do like to be a mystery, I feel. And I think it's like, it's always, to me, it's like the why, like coming back to the why. And like individually, we have our reasons to like want to experiment and try these things. But my question is, and again, this is like my Scorpio and whatever, but it's like, the people that like when we start creating like these bigger technological advances around like this very intimate practice, it's like what's the driving force, like what's the point, and do we have like what's the morale around it as far as like where does it stop, right? Because next
Yep.
thing you know, like we're storing data, and then all of a sudden it's like someone gets a hold of this data, or like, I'm sure my whatever I come up with is not going to be like amazing where someone's going to want to steal it, but then you have, other people that, I mean, it's like the stealing ideas. And I know in one of the articles, I think it was the one as far as communicating with lucid dreamers, they brought up the movie Inception,
Mm-hmm.
and how like in that movie, he was like changing. I have to watch it again, it's been so long, but he was basically changing like people's thoughts and stuff through like entering their dreams. And so I'm not saying obviously that's sci-fi, and I don't think it could go that way.
No,
um
but there's sci-fi things that used to just be sci-fi and now is a part of our
Very true,
technological
very
advancement.
true.
So you're
So
right
you
on the
never
money with that.
know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like it's it's a lot, it's overwhelming. And then that's where I just like, it's the same thing for me with like marijuana. Like, yes, it was cool when we had like a couple dispensaries and it was great. But then it got to a point where it's like we're extracting, like we're like, how can I make this weed like as strong as
Mm-hmm.
possible? Let's do this thing and cut this out. And like you get really scientific with it, and you're like trying to squeeze like the stuff that you can't create, like the essence of it. And then it gets all distorted, and then it becomes like
Something
um
else.
yeah, it becomes something else, and then it becomes like detrimental in some ways. And not saying that about weed, but I know being in Colorado for so long, like at a point I'm like, I just want regular fucking weed. Give
Yeah.
me the shit that you grew in your
I
backyard. Like
don't need
right
to sip
now
on
I got my
marijuana.
mom shit with seeds in it. I mean, it's like real bush weed, and I'm like, this is great, I'm chilling, I'm vibing. And it's like, so it gets to a certain point, it's like, how far are we going to take it? If we
Yep.
could check, like keep ourselves in check, which I mean, sweet little humans, we don't really know what that means. um
Yeah, we have a
that's
very
where
hard time
I'm
with
just like,
balance.
yeah. So it is, yeah, we need some
No, I
balance.
agree with you 100%. I have so many concerns around like what what is taking it too far? Why do we have to integrate technology into our organic space? Something that is, for myself and for you, Urania, and I'm sure for other people, it's an otherworldly experience. And it is kind of private, especially if we get to a point where like they can put your dreams into like images and movies and
That's crazy.
videos.
I don't even know
um
if I want to see that, to be
no, and like also like you said, stealing that, it is a very personal thing, and like choosing to share a dream with the world is being vulnerable and opening yourself up because it is your secret, personal, hidden space. The other aspects that, frighten me is like, yeah, we are a capitalistic like society, selling dreams, ads and dreams, not being able to dream without an ad, not being able to think without an ad,
oh my god.
hackers getting into your brain and
Ooh, here we
influencing
go.
your
Age of
thoughts.
Aquarius.
I know, it's like there's so many, like, where does it stop? Now, don't get me wrong. My room, I have a TV, I have a monitor, I have a PS4, I have a PS3, I have my phone, I have it's just it's technology. It's There's a lot of technology. Um but it's like I can kind of move in a comfortable space with that. And like
Hmm.
when I end up getting my like a house and I have more rooms, like it's just
Yeah.
the living room and the bedroom.
Yeah.
It's not like we have a whole lot of space. So it's not, our
Yeah.
options are limited with where we put things.
Yeah.
But I will definitely have a space in my house where there's no technological interruptions, because
Yeah.
I'd like to have that
Hmm.
experience of like the energy kind of being more, you know, organic. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, when we start talking about that, like what about even just lighting? What about the
Yeah.
electrical units in the walls?
Well,
What about, like,
yeah, your appliances. Like, I mean, you can really get crazy with it, to be
yeah.
honest. And so I try to keep myself in check with all of that. And like, one of the things I try not to think about, but in researching this, I, of course, thought about how like my house, so I do live in a house, so that like as far as having things compartmentalized is a bit easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
But my house is literally surrounded by power lines. And that's the
Yeah.
thing too that I was reading about. And it's interesting. I have been living here for almost, it'll be 6 years this year. And so I don't really like my sleeping habits have been like different in different places for many reasons. So honestly, I don't know how that influences me and how it doesn't. I know every so often I'll tune into it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like surrounded. I mean, even like with certain, like I know I had to switch my phone carrier because like it was totally like it was a dead zone. Like this is a dead
Yeah.
zone for phones, except if you have like Spectrum, which is because
Mm-hmm.
their tower is like literally right there. They have
Yeah.
in Verizon, I think. So it's like weird, and I try not to think about that. And what I know has been beneficial for me, since I have witnessed how specifically it's been like my AirPods, like my earbuds, um, that really creates when I would have these, like I would sleep with these, sometimes I would even fall asleep with them in my ear, and I would have some crazy dreams, like
Really?
anxious and like, yeah. And I didn't really
Wow.
think too much of it until I started like not sleeping with my phone and stuff in the room. And then I ended up getting black tourmaline, and I know that it's one of those EMF blockers, so to speak. Well, actually, I'm not going to do air quotes because I have completely, like, it's completely changed my sleep. Like, I have less anxious dreams, and I just feel like I sleep deeper than I
Yep.
have before. And I've been sleeping with it for months. And I
Mm-hmm.
just like, even when I travel, I have another one that I take with me because I'm like, well, my daughter sleeps in there, so I want her to have it. So then I have another piece of tourmaline that I use when I travel. And I mean, like, it's not going to get rid of everything, but I can't imagine how I would be sleeping without it at this point.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
that
and
definitely
that's so
helps.
funny you mentioned the black tourmaline, because we had this conversation a couple months ago about black tourmaline, and I was like, I need to get it. Not one place I went had it. And
Oh,
like
wow. Yeah.
black tourmaline is somewhere, like, you I feel like you could get it anywhere. Like
Yeah.
any
Like, it's like
metaphysical
usually
shop.
I see it like the
Nothing.
raw. Yeah. The raw. I would get the raw. Well, shoot, if you don't get one before I see you again, then I'll give you mine. I would have like let you have that one because I had one with me when we were at the yurt. So
That's so funny. And we did have my dream space at the yurt was very interesting.
my dream space was funky the first night. And I know it,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there was a lot going on. So I'm like, that poor tourmaline was not like didn't have a chance.
No, nope. There's so much going on, but
but
yeah,
yeah.
so yeah.
So do you have any other technology? Um, advancements that you want to share, or do you want to go ahead and get into dreams? It's totally whatever your flow
No, I'm
is.
totally ready to get back into dreams. I feel like this is definitely a topic that we can take on further as we learn more and more discoveries come up, and we can talk about it and express our opinions about these upcoming things. But I think what we covered so far is I feel like good with that today.
Okay.
So it's 9:45. I feel like that's a good time to get into like our dream space.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just go ahead and share mine, which is like a dream that I've shared many times. As far as we're gonna basically, for those of you listening, we're gonna share dreams that we've had that included some aspect of technology, whether it's a computer, TV, a phone. I feel like I'm forgetting some other things, but
Oh, so I actually have just brief interpretations for television, TV, phone, computer, video games, and clocks and watches. I thought those were
oh yeah,
really
that one
good
was interesting. Yeah.
collection, common themes in a lot of people that I've talked to, that I'm sure you've talked to in
Hmm.
our own dreams and stuff. So yeah, that's where we're gonna go with that tonight.
Yeah. Do you want to share those interpretations like all at once?
Yeah, yeah, might as
Okay, well, you
well.
can go.
Just
Yeah,
uh
you can go ahead and do that.
okay. All right. So I tonight I used my dream dictionary. I think it's called Cloud9 Dream Dictionary. I should have brought it with me, but I'll put that in the um yeah.
In the description.
Yeah, the
Yeah, the
description.
caption description. Yeah.
So technology, we have television and TV. This can represent passive contact with the world, kind of like a view into your inner story, inner self. It could represent passivity with situations and ignoring issues. It could also represent hidden messages, and portal. A lot of these I have had dream experiences with where they were actually like portals in my dreams.
Yeah, the
So
TV. Yeah.
so it's very interesting. Phone, right off the bat, communication, connection. It could be that coming up in your dream could be an anxiety over confrontation, a need to get into contact with your inner self, and again the messages really coming through with that technology. And then computers could be representing the neglect around your heart and intuition in a situation. So, like ignoring certain aspects. It could be a need to learn a new form of communication or adopt a new perspective. It could be a representation for you, or like a push for you to notice more confusion in your waking life. Kind of like can't be computed type of translation, where like if you can't compute something, you don't really understand it. So it could be needing to focus more in your presence in the waking life. And again, portal to other worlds or to the digital
Yeah.
realm. With
Hmm.
video games, it comes up as a need for play, for recreation, really like diving in and giving your inner child attention. It could also represent escapism.
Hmm.
And then the watching clock, passage of time, could represent, especially with it being circular, the mandala, or otherwise known as the self. It could represent, like if it's really heavy, stability or burdens of time, looming deadlines. And this is interesting. Uh, the symbolism of stopped clocks that are stopped or paused, are actually common in people who are dying or are dealing with like a disease that's terminal. So I think that's very interesting. Yeah, and heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna block that out because my psyche will like to throw that at me just to be mean.
Oh yeah, it
Um,
likes to play with you, like
right.
ignite your fears.
Right.
Freaking psyche.
Um, well, that's the interesting thing with clocks for me is that, and again, it's like the impression that you have of these different symbols in your own psyche, and you can like program certain symbols to mean certain things, right? And so also we always say that, you know, dream dictionaries are just another perspective. Obviously, go
Yes,
with your own interpretation above all else, above even, you know, us or anyone else
absolutely.
sharing or like reading your dream. But with clocks, like I've never successfully seen a clock in my dream, because I had a friend who was like an avid lucid dreamer, and that was like one of the things she was like, you can't tell time and you can't read. And so she was like, if you think that you're lucid in a dream, like ask for the time,
Hmm.
or ask for a book, like ask to see a clock. And so for me, it was always like a weird thing, like with clocks, with time.
Hmm.
I feel like there was one time that I saw like the time, but it was like, I don't know, there was something like distorted about it, or like, yeah, it was like, it wasn't a successful like read. So that was like, when I saw that on your list, I was like, oh, that's really interesting.
Which
But
is, it is
yeah,
interesting because I've heard that from people, but then I've also had experiences where I've had clocks in my dreams and could tell the time. Same with writing. I've had dreams where like I can physically write.
yeah,
I
I've seen
had,
books, like I've read in
yeah,
dreams.
I've
So
read
yeah,
books and dreams. So it's interesting the way it comes up that way
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So I'll share like quickly mine, which is like a dream that I've shared here many times. It's like, it's a dream that I will never forget, because I felt that I met my, like what I would say, who the dream creator is. And that's a whole philosophical debate of like, was it me or was it spirit guide?
I love
These
it.
individuals felt like a spirit guide, but essentially, um, I was at this part of the dream. It was a very long lucid dream experience, and I was doing my best not to slip into old habits of like just summoning someone and hooking up in my lucid dream or going somewhere else. I was basically following the flow of the dream. And it got to one point where, I mean, I was like somewhat dictating where I wanted to go, I think. And then at one point it got to a point in the dream where I like really didn't have control, but I was fully like lucid. And so then this part of the dream, we were in a hallway, and at the end of the hallway were three TVs. And they were like, they were like the fuzzy, like back in the day, how you had like the channels that just didn't work, and it was like the fuzz and whatnot, like
Yep.
static. So it was that. And then as I looked, they turned, I think it was like from left to right, like they each turned like a screen, like they continued.
Ooh.
And like now it's kind of hazy what was actually on the screen. I do have it written down, but anyways, what I felt like, it's what I felt as far as the computer was that it was like, what's coming in my head is that it was a projection, or not, like it was like it, yeah, it was projecting something to me that had to do with like like a message of the dream. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was like it was a directive and a projection. And then the people that I said maybe have been the dream creator, they had a remote in their hand, which I was like, oh my gosh, you're in control of this. And so they were in control of what I was seeing on the TV. And so it seemed like it was like some sort of maybe projection of my psyche. And I'm kind of bummed that I didn't pull the dream up, because now I'm like, well, what did I see on those screens? So I'll have to report back maybe in our next chat. But yeah, so as far as can you restate the meanings for the TV? I want to
Yeah,
see if that
absolutely.
resonates.
So what I got from this one was the passive contact with the world. It could represent your inner story, hidden messages within the psyche.
I'm gonna say
Um,
that. I'm gonna stop
yeah,
there.
and
That's
that's
what
what I
it was.
got from that too. I felt
Yeah.
like it was outside source coming through to help you see and understand deeper into your psyche,
Yeah.
almost like, like holding your hand, walking you to where you need to be. It was like this otherworldly thing was showing you what you needed to pay attention to and unlocking
Yeah.
different aspects of your inner self.
Yeah. I think at that point too, I was already about to like, either I had already asked to be in this place with a certain person. And so I was like going back into my old like patterns, like lucid dream patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like either I had already mentioned it or I was about to. So either way, it was like, yeah. And then I
I
was
love
like,
that
yeah,
dream.
yeah.
When like
So
I've heard this dream with the details and everything. It is a crazy dream. Like it really is. And I can only imagine like what you were feeling when you were like within that space, but then also
yeah,
waking up and kind of like welcoming in this new profoundness that you hadn't, really been shown before in that context. It's just incredible dream. And like I love I'm not going to tell a dream about TVs,
yeah,
but I do have TVs in my dream.
yeah.
And what I notice for me is either static only
Oh,
or nothing on the TV. It's just a blank,
okay.
like a black screen.
That's interesting.
Which, yeah, it is very interesting. There was one in my dream last night, and it was so interesting because it was just a black screen TV. Like, I don't even know if I looked at it, but I knew that it was there. I know that it was there. And that's just really interesting. And it makes me want to kind of like dive in a little deeper with that because
Yeah.
like why would it be staticky when you see it?
Yeah.
Is
That's
it you're
interesting.
having difficulties with the messages coming through? You can't reach that channel where the wires picking up the information. um it's just there's so much around that. And like even I don't I have you had dreams with your phone in your dreams?
I can't recall. I can't say yes or no. I want to say yes, but I can't like think of it at the moment.
That's an interesting thing too, because I remember I had a dream within the last like 5-ish months where like I pull out my phone is in a different language. I'm lucid and like I
Yeah.
roll my eyes and like shake the phone or whatever, and it turns back to English so I can do what I have to do. So that the way it's just the screen, it's just so interesting,
Yeah.
like that aspect of
Gosh.
it.
This is really, yeah, really cool.
There's probably going to be another episode on this type
Yeah,
of
we're gonna have to do
topic.
this again.
I
Like,
mean, I didn't even remember to add radio.
yeah, I know because we're millennials. It's like,
I like it didn't even occur to me, and I've had dreams where like many dreams where I'm using the radio in the car and like receiving messages through
yeah,
the radio. So
yeah,
I.
that's so, yeah, yeah. And I think too with the TV for sure, it was like a message coming through, like we were saying, the hidden messages. So
Yep.
that's pretty interesting to think of it like the technology. I wonder if most of it is like some sort of message, except maybe a clock that could be a bit different, but still, yeah.
This brings me before I share my dream with you, this topic right here kind of brings me back to something I remember hearing and talking about with dreams, and it was that, and I don't know if this how valid this is, but I remember it like very clearly now. People who grew up with the majority of their television being in black and white had dreams in black and white,
Huh. Yeah, I don't know.
which makes sense, but it's also like kind of crazy. Like you don't
Yeah.
live in black and white.
Right. Yeah. And I know it was
Huh.
a thing too where they're like, oh, we don't dream in color. And I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that colors are very strong in my dream.
Right? Yeah. Like there's whole color themes.
Oh yeah, even if it's muddied and like dark, like the colors are still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
This is
think people just like
fascinating.
to say things sometimes.
Right?
So if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and share my
Yeah,
dream.
go
And
for it.
okay, all right. So this dream was June 1st of 2024.
Hmm.
Last night I dreamt that I was with my sister and husband at my parents' house. Though my parents' house felt familiar, it was combined with other houses all at once in one spot. It felt like everything was fused together. The energy was neutral, and the house was a bit chilly. I decided to teleport the three of us into another dimension. It required three things: a computer from the late 80s and 90s, solar eclipse glasses, and my moonstone and sunstone palm gem. I looked into the screen, which was black, but all of the colors at the same time, glitching, and the energy radiating from it was intensely powerful. I looked down at the stone in my hand and saw it sheen blue fractals, and then I rubbed it with my thumb. I looked back at the screen and concentrated until a burst of energy occurred, blinding everything. And when I opened my eyes, we had made it over. We were in a school from another world. The architecture gave you a feeling of unease. The rooms were on a slant and diagonal. The school interior truly gave the feeling of back rooms energy. No looming danger. The school was cold and brightly lit. We split up. Katie and I went to look around in one area while George went to another area to look around. The dream then jumps to Katie and I running into the bathroom. We were in the rooms of one of the on-campus superintendents, and the bathroom was where the basket of glasses were for our travel back to our home dimension. So the solar glasses I mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
We were rushing because the portal only stayed open for 9 hours and we were approaching that time. If we missed the window back, we wouldn't be able to travel back to our home area. We ran down the hall and could feel George's essence, but couldn't quite pin down a location. We followed the lines of people through the halls until we reached a large room. All the lines of people started to pour into this room. It was all white with the bright lights making the room glow. There were a handful of computer screens like the one we traveled through, and we knew we were being ushered back to our own dimension, but George wasn't with us. We were trying to push through the lines back out the door, but the pressure was too heavy. It felt like we were wading invisible ocean waves. I started calling out his name, and after a few times, an older gentleman about 6 foot tall in a gray suit and white hair cut short comes through, walking through the doorway, and says, "No need to worry about him. George is staying here for a while to teach. He is a part of our education system now." And then he walked away. Katie and I looked at each other in shock and confusion, but quickly realized we were running out of time. So we teleported back to our home dimension to catch the portal and then come back through to look for George and bring him home. When we jumped back to our own dimension, we both feel like it was a big energy hit and we were exhausted. We were in my parents' kitchen prepping a plan. I walked over, did the dishes, and then walked back over to the desk and asked Katie if she was ready to go back. She nodded with determination, and I sat back down in front of the screen with my solar eclipse glasses and moonstone. A bright shock of energy took place, and then I woke up. So,
I feel like
that,
I remember you sharing
yeah,
this.
I've definitely shared this before, but for the like because computers were so evident in this dream, I was like, this is a perfect dream to share again and really like go into that, you know, why computers? Why computer screens?
Yeah.
What about that technology, what was it trying to tell me through that technology? And then the other aspect is like really felt like astral traveling.
Oh yeah, I was definitely like a portal, and it's interesting just listening to that. I'm like, this is how like the coolest books are written and like the coolest movies, because I was like, oh my gosh, this would be like a really cool, like I could see this as like a young adult like book or something like that, like a series of like going, like traveling in time like through computers. And then it also made me think of Discovery of Witches, because when they are, I guess you haven't really, oh no, you've seen, anyways, is it okay if I,
I lost my Netflix at season 2, I think.
okay. Oh, so they already time travel, and spoiler for people
Yes.
who you want to watch it. But anyways, they had to have three things basically to travel back in time. So I thought about that, because you're like, we had to have three things. And for the record, Alexis had this dream before she started watching Discovery of
Oh
Witches.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's really, really cool. So I'm like, there's something to that.
It's also
Um,
funny because I didn't even correlate that. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about it. Like it didn't even like I've gotten to the point where they're time traveling, but though that correlation to me for some reason I just completely missed it. So that's interesting that you picked
Yeah,
up.
no, that's really
However,
cool.
three
Yeah.
is a very like divine number for
Oh
you and
yeah.
I and for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
so I can absolutely see why they would choose three things as like you need it.
Yeah. And it's like just the computers, I don't know, it definitely it just emphasizes the like communication or even like the networking with computers, how you and I are able to connect and kind of like travel together like in different parts of the country, and like we're here on a screen and people are able to tune in and watch us here on a screen and listen, via a screen or some sort of technological device. So it is that connecting factor. So there
Yes.
is time travel, there's like, just literal traveling through networks. And so that makes complete sense.
It's so interesting, especially with that communication. Like, learning a new form of communication is one of the interpretations for computers. And it just makes me think, all right, well, this was June 1st of 2024. So we had been having live chats for quite some time, but we weren't even at the point where we were thinking about doing a podcast. I don't think we started going deeper into that until like July, where the idea even came up.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had that dream where, if we're going by that interpretation, like a new form of communication and
Yeah.
learning, it's like this is the opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
us to
Learning,
use that
teaching. Yeah.
source.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Did you wrote down what computers, what they mention about computers on your
Yes. So the
interpretation?
computer uh, interpretations from this particular book represents neglecting heart and intuition in a situation. It could be like kind of being disconnected from the physical and emotional realm and being kind of stuck in this technological space, like an escape.
Mm-hmm.
It could represent the need to learn, the need to learn a new form of communication or adopting a new perspective, taking more notice of like confusion in the waking life. So when people say like when a computer says or someone or anything says cannot be computed, it's like you cannot
Yeah.
understand, you can't fulfill the
Yeah.
task, you're not there yet.
Yeah.
And then I added for myself like portal to the other
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
or other worlds or digital worlds or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but yeah,
Wow. That's really cool.
I just every time like I find a dream, either you share a dream or I share a dream or someone else shares a dream and you really like pay attention, the crazier it gets that we're able to have these experiences.
Yeah. I'm
Like,
like, this is a movie, this is a show, this is a
yeah,
book.
yeah,
I was just taken there. I
absolutely.
was like, ooh, I want more. Like I could see that being like a whole saga of like going back and forth to like visit George or find George and like figure out like, well, why did he choose to like stay here and be a teacher? And then we
Yes.
only have a short amount of time to be here. So then we have to like do a lot and then get back before, the portal closes,
Yeah,
because what's going to happen if the portal closes and
yeah,
we're like still here? Are we
yeah.
stuck? Like, so it's like it's really cool.
It
It's
is
cool. I love
insane
that.
and I love it.
I love that stuff. Awesome. Well, this was great. It really, yeah, I like ending it with the dream shares that we had because it definitely shifted my vibe as far
Yeah.
as like technology and dreams. And like I said, these are our own personal perspectives. Whatever we share is our perspective. So we would love to hear your thoughts and also your dreams involving technology. That'd be amazing, to hear what has come up for you in the dream space and your thoughts on any of these different interpretations. And also, I want to say that a good place to share your thoughts with us directly, speaking of computers and connecting and networking in different places, every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time now, we are holding a dream circle, a virtual circle on Zoom. and is donation based. We recommend $10 donation, but you can have a place for as low as like $1. So we would love to connect with you. And, maybe if you join us this coming Tuesday, we can talk about more about technology and dreams, and you can share with us your thoughts and possibly some dreams you've had with these different technological devices.
That's a great point to bring up. And I do have to say, yesterday was our first dream circle, and it was incredible. It
Okay.
flowed so nicely. It was so beautiful. And, you if you guys are interested, you really should join, because the energy of just all these dreamers together is, I can't even
And we
explain it.
all learned something from the
Yes,
conversation. There was an aha moment for each of us, and just we learn. I'm sure, I know I could say for myself, I learned something about myself, and
absolutely. Me too.
it was a really nice experience. And so I'm looking forward to continuing this every week and just keeping these conversations going and creating a community and support for like this really intimate part of our lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. So if you want to join us this coming Tuesday, you can register at the link in the description of this video. Of course, if you're listening to Spotify, it's in the episode description.
Mhm.
And yeah, follow us on Instagram, connect with us there, journey through the Interverse. And I feel like there was something else. Oh, next week. So our chat next week is going to be our dark moon reflection. So it's going to be the day before the new moon. So the Pisces new moon is on the 27th. And so we're going to be reflecting on this Aquarius lunar cycle. We're going to talk a little bit about also collective conscious dreams, right? So tapping into the collective unconscious or collective consciousness, and how that, influences our dreams. I had a really cool experience with that this week, and I'm really excited to share next week.
Yep.
And we would love to hear your shares and just how your dream space has been for the past lunar cycle. So yeah. Anything else that you want to add, Alexis? Or
No, I think you covered it all. I feel really good with closing it up here.
awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Like the video if you like this chat, and you can also like our and follow us on Spotify is what I'm going with. Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Sweet dreams, and we'll see you again soon.
Sweet dreams.